The year was 2087. Humans had spread beyond Earth, building cities on Mars and mining stations across the solar system. It was a time of growth and hope, yet no one knew that alien eyes were watching. Commander Jack Lawson sat in the control room of Earth Defense Fleet headquarters. He rubbed his tired eyes as he studied the screen. Strange energy signals had appeared near Neptune for the third day in a row. "Susan, I need you to check this out," Lawson said, calling Lieutenant Susan Miller to his station. Miller looked at the readings and nodded. "I'll take the Valiant. We'll be at Neptune's orbit in 3 days." The EDF Valiant was Earth's newest scout ship. Fast and well-equipped, it was perfect for this mission. Miller and her crew of 15 left Earth orbit that same day. When they reached Neptune, they found something that would change human history forever. A ship unlike anything humans had built hovered silently in space. It was smooth and silver, 5 times larger than the Valiant, with no visible engines or windows. "Try to make contact," Miller ordered her communications officer. Before they could send a message, the alien ship vanished. One moment it was there, the next it was gone, leaving only a brief energy burst that overloaded the Valiant sensors. Miller reported back to Lawson. "Sir, I don't know what we saw, but it wasn't human technology. Nothing we have can move like that." For 2 weeks, Earth's leaders debated what to do. Some thought it was a mistake in the readings. Others worried it was a sign of danger to come. They didn't have to wait long for an answer. 50 ships appeared in Earth orbit without warning. Each one was massive, dwarfing the largest human space stations. They formed a perfect circle around the planet. Every screen on Earth suddenly showed the same image: a tall being with blue-gray skin and 4 arms. It wore ornate armor that gleamed with unknown metals. "People of Earth," the alien said in perfect English, "I am Admiral Corax of the Viridian Empire. Your world is now part of our domain, as are all your colonies. The Empire spans 10,000 star systems. Resistance is pointless and would only lead to your extinction." The alien's voice was cold and matter-of-fact. "You have 30 Earth days to surrender formally. Representatives will arrive to explain how you will serve the Empire. Be grateful. Some species are not offered such generous terms." The transmission ended. Panic spread across Earth as the reality sank in. Humanity was not alone, and its first contact with alien life was not peaceful. President Olivia Garcia addressed the world from the White House. Her normally confident face looked strained, but her voice remained steady. "Citizens of Earth and all human colonies, today we face the greatest challenge in our history. These visitors, these Viridians, have technology far beyond our own, but humanity has faced impossible odds before. We will not surrender our freedom easily." Later that day, Garcia met with Earth's top military leaders in a secure underground facility. Lawson was among them. "Can we fight them?" Garcia asked directly. General Frank Powell shook his head. "Madam President, their ships haven't even powered up their weapons. What we're seeing is just their travel mode. Our best estimates suggest their technology is at least 3 centuries ahead of ours." Lawson spoke up. "We need time. My team is already studying the data from their ships. If we can find any weakness, find it fast," Garcia said. "Officially, we'll negotiate to buy time. Unofficially, I want every possible option for resistance explored." As the meeting ended, Lawson lingered. "Madam President, there's something odd about these Viridians. They seem overconfident." Garcia looked at him. "Wouldn't you be with their advantage?" "Yes, but it's more than that. They're not treating us as a threat at all. That could be their first mistake." Above them, the Viridian ships waited silently. The countdown to humanity's deadline had begun. The world's leaders gathered daily to discuss surrender terms with Viridian representatives. In public, they appeared cooperative. In secret, they looked for any way to fight back. Commander Lawson worked with Dr. Alan Wright in a hidden lab beneath the Rocky Mountains. Wright, a tall man with wild gray hair and tired eyes, had been studying the data from the Viridian ships nonstop. "Look at this," Wright said, pointing to a pattern on his screen. "Their ships give off this radiation when they jump through space. It's not random. There's a flaw here." Lawson leaned closer. "What kind of flaw?" "Their faster-than-light drives create a bubble that moves space around the ship, but the pattern suggests the field becomes unstable under certain conditions. I don't know what those conditions are yet, but it's something." Lawson nodded. "Keep working. I'll get you whatever resources you need." Meanwhile, on the main Viridian ship, Commander Zathrax prepared his report for Admiral Corax. Zathrax had spent 2 weeks studying humans through their broadcasts, literature, and by observing their cities from orbit. "These humans are primitive, Admiral," Zathrax said. "They only reached their moon a century ago. Their most advanced ships can barely leave their solar system." Corax studied the human images on his screen. They look soft, like all species who haven't faced real challenges. "They fight among themselves constantly," Zathrax added. "They can't even unite their own planet. They will surrender, like all the others." Back on Earth, Colonel Diane Foster met with President Garcia in the Emergency Command Center. Foster led Earth's Special Forces, the best-trained soldiers on the planet. "Negotiating surrender is a waste of time," Foster said bluntly. "We need to act while we still can." Garcia frowned. "What do you suggest?" "Their ships are impenetrable to our weapons. We don't attack their ships directly," Foster explained. "We board one. A small team, in and out. We grab their tech, maybe a prisoner, and learn what we can." "That's suicide," Garcia said. Foster stood straight. "Maybe. But it's better than just giving up our planet without a fight." After a long silence, Garcia nodded. "You have my authorization. But this doesn't leave this room." Foster assembled her team that night. Paul Winters was their tech expert, a genius who could hack almost any system. Kate Howard was a language specialist who had already begun deciphering the Viridian tongue from their broadcasts. John Baker was a former space marine, strong and calm under pressure. "Our target is this scout ship," Foster told them, showing images of a smaller Viridian vessel orbiting Mars. "It's separate from the main fleet and has a smaller crew. Our goal is simple: get in, gather intel, get out. We need anything that can help us fight back." Winters looked skeptical. "How do we even get close without being detected?" "Dr. Wright has a theory," Foster replied. "The Viridians use specific communication frequencies. He's modified a shuttle to broadcast those same signatures. If we're lucky, they'll think we're one of them until we're right on top of them." "And if we're not lucky?" Baker asked. Foster didn't smile. "Then this will be a very short mission." As the team prepared, Wright made a surprising discovery in his lab. He called Lawson immediately. "Commander, I've been analyzing their broadcasts. The Viridians breathe a different air mix than we do. Their atmosphere has more methane and less oxygen." "How does that help us?" Lawson asked. "It means they'll be wearing breathing equipment on Earth. And it means that on their ships, we'll be the ones needing masks. But here's the interesting part: their environment suits look heavy and restrictive. In a direct physical confrontation," Lawson finished the thought, "we might have an advantage." That night, Foster's team boarded their modified shuttle. Their mission would either be the first successful strike against the Viridian Empire or a footnote in the story of humanity's surrender. No one expected them to succeed. But then again, no one expected humans to win against the Galactic Empire. Foster's team approached the Viridian scout ship near Mars orbit. Their shuttle moved slowly, broadcasting fake Viridian signals created by Wright. Winters monitored the enemy ship's responses from the shuttle's small control room. "They're not shooting at us yet," Winters said. "I think they believe we're one of their maintenance vessels." Howard studied the Viridian ship through a viewing port. "Their design is strange. No sharp edges anywhere. Everything flows together." "Focus," Foster reminded them. "Baker, are you ready?" Baker checked his oxygen mask one last time, ready as I'll ever be to board an alien spaceship. Their shuttle moved alongside the much larger Viridian vessel. Using Wright's data, Winters identified what looked like a service hatch. The team sealed their masks and prepared for the dangerous crossing. "Remember," Foster said, "we're here for information, not a fight. If we're spotted, we retreat immediately." The shuttle locked onto the Viridian ship with magnetic clamps. Baker cut through the outer hatch with a plasma torch. It was easier than expected. "Their metal is strange," Baker whispered. "Strong but thin." The team entered the alien ship. The air was thick with methane, and gravity felt lighter than Earth normal. The corridors glowed with soft blue light. They moved carefully, following a map Winters had created based on scans of the ship's layout. "This way," Foster whispered, pointing down a narrow passage. "Their computer core should be ahead." They turned a corner and froze. A Viridian stood before them. It was tall, nearly 7 feet, with 4 long arms and blue-gray skin. Its large eyes widened in shock. Before the alien could react, Baker lunged forward and tackled it to the ground. To everyone's surprise, the Viridian collapsed easily under Baker's weight. "They're not as strong as they look," Baker said, holding the struggling alien down with one arm. Howard knelt beside the Viridian and spoke words she had learned from studying their broadcasts. The alien stopped struggling and stared at her in shock. "I think I just told it to be calm," Howard said, "though I might have said something about its mother." Foster nodded. "Bind it. We'll take it with us if we can." They continued to what appeared to be a control room. Winters immediately began connecting his devices to the alien technology. "Their systems are advanced but not impossible," he said as he worked. "It's like they're running on very old but very refined technology. Not much innovation." Howard studied symbols on the walls. "I can read some of this. It's a scout ship here to study Earth's defenses." They weren't expecting any resistance. While Winters copied data and Howard translated, Foster explored the ship with Baker. They found sleeping quarters for the small crew and a room filled with what looked like weapons. "These must be their hand weapons," Foster said, examining a sleek silver device. "Should we take some?" "Definitely," Baker replied. "Wright will want to study them." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. Red lights flashed in the corridors. "We've been discovered," Foster said into her communicator. "Everyone back to the shuttle. Now." As they rushed back, 3 Viridians blocked their path. The aliens were wearing armored suits and carrying weapons. They fired, sending bolts of energy past the humans. "Take cover," Foster shouted. Baker didn't hesitate. He charged directly at the aliens. The first shot hit his shoulder but didn't slow him down. He slammed into the first Viridian, sending it flying into the wall. The alien crumpled, its suit cracking. Foster and the others joined the fight. To their amazement, even Howard was able to overpower a Viridian in hand-to-hand combat. "They're physically weaker than humans," Foster realized. "Much weaker." As more alarms sounded, Foster made a quick decision. "Change of plans. Winters, grab that officer we captured. We're taking it with us. The rest of you, grab any technology you can carry." The team fought their way back to the shuttle, discovering with each encounter that what the Viridians had in technology, they lacked in physical strength. Their empire had made them soft. As they escaped with their Viridian prisoner and stolen data, they knew they had discovered something important. The mighty Galactic Empire had a weakness after all. Foster's team returned to Earth as heroes, though their mission remained secret to the public. They'd brought back their Viridian prisoner, Officer Zilkra, and a wealth of stolen data that could change everything. Dr. Wright worked day and night studying the Viridian technology. He barely slept, existing on coffee and energy bars as he made breakthrough after breakthrough. "Look at this," Wright said to Lawson, pointing to his screen. "Their weapons use quantum entanglement to create energy bursts. Very advanced. But there's a flaw." Lawson leaned closer. "What kind of flaw?" They're vulnerable to certain electromagnetic frequencies. If we broadcast these frequencies, we could disrupt their weapons, maybe even their ship systems. Meanwhile, Howard spent hours talking with Zilkra, learning the Viridian language and gathering information. At first, Zilkra refused to speak, but as days passed, the alien became more cooperative. The Viridians aren't the real rulers, Howard told President Garcia during a briefing. They're middle managers for beings called the Xol. According to Zilkra, no one has seen a Xol in physical form for thousands of years. They communicate only through special channels. Are they like gods to the Viridians? Garcia asked. More like distant bosses. The Viridians carry out their orders, but the Xol themselves stay hidden. In another lab, Winters analyzed the technical data from the scout ship. He made a surprising discovery and called Foster immediately. Colonel, you need to see this. The Viridians haven't created any new technology in over 500 years. They only use what the Xol give them. They don't innovate at all. Foster frowned. Why not? I'm not sure. Maybe they're not allowed to. Maybe they've forgotten how. But everything they use is standardized across their entire empire. No variations, no improvements. This information gave Commander Lawson an idea. He requested an urgent meeting with President Garcia and the military leadership. We can't beat their entire fleet, Lawson said. But we don't have to. Their ships work on a hierarchy. Each group of ships is controlled by a command vessel. If we could capture one of these command ships, we could control all the ships under it. General Powell looked skeptical. And how do we capture a command ship? Their technology is still far beyond ours. But we have advantages they don't expect, Lawson replied. They're physically weaker than us. They don't adapt well to new situations. And thanks to Wright's discoveries, we can temporarily disrupt their weapons. President Garcia considered the plan. So instead of fighting their technology, we use our physical strength and adaptability to board and capture their ships. Exactly, Lawson said. It's risky, but it's our best chance. Garcia nodded slowly. How soon can we be ready? Give us 2 weeks, Lawson said. Wright needs time to build the jammers, and Foster needs to train more teams for boarding actions. On the main Viridian ship, Admiral Corax received disturbing reports. One of their scout ships had been attacked. An officer was missing. The humans were supposed to be preparing for surrender, not mounting operations against Imperial vessels. This is unprecedented, Corax said to his second-in-command. No species has ever resisted once they saw our fleet. They are primitive and don't understand their situation. His officer replied, Shall we move up the deadline? Force their surrender now. Corax considered this. In his 200 years enforcing the Empire's will, he had never faced real resistance. The Xol protocols didn't cover this situation well. No, he finally decided. We will follow the standard procedures, but increase security on all vessels, and prepare a demonstration of force. Perhaps these humans need to see their moon destroyed to understand their position. As Earth prepared its desperate plan, the deadline for surrender grew closer. Humanity would have only one chance to strike. If they failed, Earth would be just another conquered world in the vast Viridian Empire. But if they succeeded, they would do what no species had done before, stand against the Empire and win. The day of humanity's counterattack arrived. With only hours left before the surrender deadline, Earth launched its desperate plan. Engineer Lisa Chen, a brilliant woman who rarely spoke, but whose mind never stopped working, had created devices that could jam Viridian communications and weapons. These jammers were small but powerful. They'll only work for about 3 minutes, Chen warned Foster as the Special Forces teams prepared. After that, the Viridian systems will adapt. 3 minutes is all we need, Foster replied, checking her gear one last time. Lieutenant Miller would pilot the EDF Valiant, now modified with Viridian technology stolen from the scout ship. Inside the Valiant, Foster's expanded team waited. 20 of Earth's best soldiers, all chosen for their strength, quick thinking, and bravery. President Garcia addressed them through a secure channel. You carry the hopes of our entire planet. If you fail, Earth falls. Good luck. The plan was daring but simple. The Valiant would approach the Viridian command ship using transponder codes taken from the captured scout ship. Meanwhile, Earth's governments would send surrender messages to distract the Viridians. Remember, Lawson told Miller before she departed, you only need to get close enough for Foster's team to board. After that, get clear. Don't try to fight their support vessels alone. Miller nodded. Understood, sir. But if Foster's team succeeds, we'll need to be ready to help secure the command ship. The Valiant left Earth's atmosphere and headed toward the main Viridian fleet. Tension filled the ship as they approached. Would the stolen codes work? Would the Viridians see through their plan? The massive Viridian command ship loomed ahead, surrounded by smaller vessels. It was the size of a small city, with smooth lines and pulsing blue lights along its hull. They're hailing us, the communications officer reported. Respond with the automatic message we prepared, Miller ordered. Winters had created a fake response using Viridian language and protocols. The Viridian ship paused, then sent a landing vector. Their ruse was working. The Valiant moved closer to the command ship's docking area. Jammers ready? Miller asked. Ready, came the response from engineering. Activate on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark. Chen's jammers came to life, sending out electromagnetic pulses at the exact frequencies Wright had identified. On the Viridian ships, alarms blared as systems failed. Weapons went offline. Communications cut out. Go, 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 Foster shouted to her team. They rushed from the Valiant into the Viridian ship through emergency airlocks, using plasma cutters to force their way in. Viridian crew members tried to stop them, but were easily overpowered. As Wright had predicted, the aliens were physically no match for humans. What would have been an even fight against human opponents became a one-sided battle. Baker led a team toward the engine room, following maps created from the scout ship's data. Viridian engineers fled at the sight of the humans charging toward them. Meanwhile, Miller executed a series of maneuvers with the Valiant that no Viridian pilot would have attempted. She disabled 2 support vessels by scraping close enough to damage their sensor arrays. Foster fought her way toward the command center with Howard and 5 other soldiers. Viridian security forces fired their weapons, but the jammers made them unreliable. Some worked, some didn't. A bolt of energy struck one of Foster's team, killing him instantly. Keep moving, Foster ordered, pushing her grief aside. On the bridge of the command ship, Admiral Corax received confused reports. Human attackers were on board. Systems were failing. Support vessels were not responding. This is impossible, Corax said. They're primitives. He ordered a retreat to regroup, but before the order could be implemented, Foster's team burst onto the bridge. Viridian officers reached for weapons, but Baker and his team arrived from another entrance, trapping them. Surrender, Foster told Corax, aiming a Viridian weapon at him. The Admiral stared at the humans in disbelief. In thousands of conquests, no one had ever boarded a command ship. No one had ever challenged the Empire this way. For the first time in his long life, Admiral Corax surrendered. News of the captured Viridian command ship spread quickly through the Empire. Never before had an invasion fleet been defeated, let alone captured. The Xol Council, the mysterious rulers who had not faced a real challenge in thousands of years, was forced to respond. Send High Executor Vexorn, the automated Xol message stated. Crush this human rebellion. No mercy. On Earth, scientists and engineers worked to understand and use the Viridian technology from the captured command ship. The massive vessel, now renamed EDF Defiance, became humanity's greatest weapon and research lab. Lawson, promoted to admiral after the successful mission, stood on the bridge of the Defiance. Around him, human technicians worked alongside captured Viridian systems. We've learned more in 2 weeks than we would have in 50 years. Shen told him as she modified a control panel. Their technology is amazing, but they use it in limited ways. We're finding new applications they never considered. President Garcia formed a global defense council with representatives from all nations. Old conflicts were set aside as humanity united against the common threat. The Viridians will return, Garcia told the council. According to Admiral Corax, they'll send a much larger force. We have about 3 months to prepare. From Corax's neural interface, Earth learned much about the Empire. The Viridians controlled thousands of star systems, but many of the conquered species were unhappy under their rule. Some might be willing to help humans if given the chance. We should contact potential allies, Howard suggested during a strategy meeting. She had been working closely with Zilkra, who had become surprisingly helpful. Why are you helping us? Howard had asked the Viridian officer one day. Zilkra's 4 arms moved in what Howard had learned was a gesture of uncertainty. The Empire has not changed in millennia. The soul demand obedience, not growth. Your species adapts, creates, fights. It is interesting. Using this information, Earth began sending coded messages to potential allies using captured Viridian communication technology. They targeted the Nelvari, a species of crystal-based beings who served as engineers within the Empire, and the Cantari, known for their biological sciences. Meanwhile, Vaker trained new space marines in anti-Viridian combat tactics. They have better weapons, but we're stronger and faster, he told his recruits. In close quarters, 1 human can take down 3 Viridians. Miller led missions to capture additional Viridian outposts at the edges of the solar system. Each victory brought more technology and knowledge. Wright and Chen worked together to develop new weapons based on Viridian technology, but modified with human innovations. They created smaller, more powerful jammers and energy weapons that humans could use effectively. The Viridians have used the same designs for centuries, Wright explained to Lawson. They don't innovate because the Tull don't allow it. That's their biggest weakness. As Earth prepared, the first responses to their coded messages arrived. The Nelvari were interested in rebellion. The Cantari had already been planning resistance. Other species wanted proof that humans could truly stand against the Empire. We'll give them proof, Lawson promised. Aboard his flagship, High Executor Vexorn reviewed the reports about Earth. His vessel was 10 times larger than Corax's command ship, with weapons that could destroy entire continents. He had never failed the Xol in 300 years of service. These humans will learn the price of defiance, Vexorn told his commanders. We will make an example of their world. As his reinforcement fleet approached Earth's solar system, Vexorn expected to find a primitive planet struggling with stolen technology they barely understood. Instead, he would find something unprecedented, a world that had not only mastered Viridian systems, but improved upon them, and a collection of species ready to throw off the Empire's rule. The real war for Earth's freedom was about to begin. Earth's defenses were ready as Vexorn's fleet approached. The EDF Defiance led a strange mix of ships. Some were modified human vessels. Others were hybrid creations combining human and Viridian technology. All were prepared for the fight of their lives. They've entered the solar system, Miller reported from her position on the Defiance's bridge. Over 200 ships, 5 times what Corax brought. Admiral Lawson nodded calmly. Just as we expected. All ships maintain position. Wait for my command. President Garcia watched from Earth's command center, surrounded by military and civilian leaders. Admiral, our planet's fate is in your hands, she said over the secure channel. We won't let you down, Lawson promised. As Vexorn's fleet approached Mars orbit, sensors detected something unexpected. New ships were arriving, but not from Earth. A group of crystalline vessels, beautiful and strange, appeared near Jupiter. We're receiving a transmission, Howard announced excitedly. It's in Viridian, but it's not from Vexorn's fleet. A voice came through the speakers. People of Earth, I am Speaker Therix of the Nelvari. We received your message. We too wish freedom from the Empire." Cheers erupted across the bridge. The Nelvari, a species with bodies made of living crystal, had served as engineers in the Empire for millennia. Now they had brought 20 ships to help Earth. "The Viridians have never faced real resistance," Thyrix continued. "Their fleet has never engaged in actual combat. They rely on fear and displays of power." More good news arrived minutes later. The Cantari, another subjugated species skilled in biological sciences, joined with 15 more ships. Their leader, Elder Shisk, offered crucial information. "The Xol themselves have not physically intervened in galactic affairs for over 10,000 years, Shisk told them. "They issue commands through automated systems, but they never appear in person." As Vexorn's fleet entered Earth orbit, they found not a cowering primitive world, but a coordinated defense force. Human, Nelvari, and Cantari ships formed a protective screen around Earth. "What is this?" Vexorn demanded, seeing the Allied fleet. No species would dare stand against the Empire. He ordered his fleet to attack, expecting the rebels to scatter before his superior numbers. Instead, the Allied ships executed a complex battle plan created by Lawson and Thyrix. They used tactics the Viridians had never seen, splitting into smaller groups and targeting specific vessels. The Defiance led the main attack group. Chen's improved jammers disrupted the Viridian weapons at crucial moments. Human pilots performed maneuvers that Viridian commanders considered impossible. "They're too rigid," Miller observed as she watched Viridian ships follow the same attack patterns documented in Corax's files. "They don't adapt." Despite clever tactics, the battle was still difficult. Many Allied ships were destroyed. The Viridians' technology was powerful, and they had the advantage of numbers. "We need to take out Vexorn's flagship," Lawson decided. "Foster, are your teams ready?" "Ready, Admiral," Foster replied from the launch bay where her boarding teams waited. Foster's plan was even more daring than their first mission. While Wright and Chen deployed a new weapon that created disruptions in faster-than-light drives, stranding Imperial vessels far from the main battle, Foster would lead a direct assault on Vexorn's massive flagship. The battle raged across the solar system. Human and Allied ships took heavy losses, but inflicted surprising damage on the Imperial fleet. The Viridians, faced with unexpected resistance and tactics, struggled to respond effectively. As Foster's team launched toward Vexorn's flagship, she knew this would be the decisive moment. If they could capture or disable the High Executor's vessel, the rest of the fleet might fall into disarray. "Ready for drop," Foster told her team as their craft approached the massive ship. "Remember your training. Remember Earth depends on us." The boarding pods launched toward Vexorn's flagship, carrying humanity's best hope for freedom. Foster's team fought their way through Vexorn's flagship. The ship was enormous, with long corridors and vast chambers. Viridian crew members tried to stop them, but were quickly overwhelmed by the stronger, more determined humans. "This way to the command center," Howard directed through their comm system. She had studied the ship's layout from data provided by the Nelvari. Baker led the front team, clearing a path with captured Viridian weapons. "These ships all have the same design," he called back. "It makes our job easier." As they approached the command center, resistance grew stronger. Elite Viridian guards blocked their path. The fighting was intense. Foster lost 3 more of her team before they broke through. Finally, they reached the command center doors. Chen's jammers disrupted the locking mechanisms, and Baker forced the doors open. Inside, Foster and her team came face to face with High Executor Vexorn himself. Vexorn was different from other Viridians, taller with 6 arms instead of 4, and skin that was almost white. He stood before a glowing orb that pulsed with strange energy. "You are too late, humans," Vexorn said. "I am in direct communication with the Xol. They will destroy your entire system for this rebellion." Foster raised her weapon. "Step away from the orb." Instead, Vexorn touched the orb, and it grew brighter. "Behold the power of the Xol, masters of the galaxy." Howard studied the orb carefully, then looked at Foster with surprise. "It's automated," she whispered. "There's no one on the other end." Baker didn't hesitate. He fired at the orb. It shattered with a flash of light, and Vexorn screamed in horror. "What have you done?" the High Executor cried. "The Xol will punish us all." But nothing happened. No response came. The room was silent except for the ship's alarms. Howard stepped forward. "There are no Xol, are there?" "Not anymore. They're gone. It's just their automated systems, their recordings, their old orders." "How long have they been gone?" "Centuries. Millennia." Vexorn sank to his knees. "It cannot be. The Xol are eternal." "Nothing is eternal," Foster said. "Show us the truth." With shaking hands, Vexorn accessed the ship's records. Ancient files appeared on the screens around them. They showed the Xol, strange cloud-like beings, gradually fading from history. The last direct communication with a living Xol was over 10,000 years ago. The Empire has been running on automatic, Howard realized, following old orders from masters who don't exist anymore. Foster wasted no time. She connected to the fleet communication system. "This is Colonel Foster from Earth. The Xol are gone. They have been gone for thousands of years. The Empire exists only through lies and fear." She transmitted the proof to all ships in the system. Across Vexorn's fleet, confusion spread. Many Viridian captains refused to believe it. Others stopped fighting immediately, unsure what to do without the Xol's authority. Back on the Defiance, Lawson seized the opportunity. "All ships, target the remaining hostile vessels. Offer surrender to any who stand down." The battle turned quickly. Without the fear of the Xol, many Viridian ships surrendered. Those that continued fighting were disabled by the combined Earth and Ally fleet. 1 month later, representatives from 20 formerly Imperial worlds gathered on Earth. President Garcia addressed the first meeting of the new alliance. "Today marks a new beginning," she said, "not just for Earth, but for all our worlds. For too long, we lived under the shadow of an empire that existed only through fear and lies. Together, we will build something better." Admiral Lawson was preparing to lead an expedition beyond former Imperial borders. There were rumors of other civilizations that had been hiding from the Empire for centuries. On the landing pad, Officer Zilkra stood with Foster, watching a new type of ship being built. It combined technologies from a dozen species, including distinctive human innovations. "What will you call it?" Zilkra asked. Foster smiled. "The Unity. The first of many." Nobody expected the humans to win against the Galactic Empire. But in doing so, they didn't just save themselves. They liberated a galaxy.